There's something that I've been thinking about for a while. and I'm going to move this. And that is the difference between stupidity and evil. And which one of them um, I would argue is far worse. There's something that, when things go wrong in society, when systems fail, when institutions collapse, we instinctively look for evil. We want to blame evil. And we imagine some villain, some mastermind who, um, through malice, is pulling strings behind the scenes. But in the larger study of like how things work, and the longer I study power and incentives and systems and all the things I talk about on the show, the more I've come to believe something's uncomfortable. And stupidity is far more dangerous than evil. Now, let me define what I mean, because this isn't about insulting people. I don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm trying to insult anybody. I'm not. But evil implies intent. It implies that someone knowingly causes harm, that it was strategic, it was deliberate, it was calculated. But stupidity is different, because stupidity is literally acting without understanding the consequences, because they're stupid. And sorry, but it's just the way it is. It's overconfidence without competence. It's having emotional certainty inside complex systems that have nuance. And it's refusing to update your opinion and thoughts as new information comes in. Here's the critical difference. Evil usually understands the system it's manipulating. Stupidity doesn't. That matters, because evil is constrained by its own awareness. It knows the risks. It calculates the trade-offs. It plans accordingly. But stupidity just reacts. Stupidity is very reactionary, and reactive decision-making inside a powerful institution, like, creates chaos, and it ultimately is what destroys everything from the inside out. Evil is very rare, extraordinarily rare. Only once every so often does somebody who's evil and operating with malice and understanding how a system works and wanting to pick it apart and destroy it because they have malicious intent. That's so rare. Very rare. Happens once in every great while, when someone is evil or even has the power. Because if you don't have any power and you're evil, that's how you become serial killers, right? Because you want to go out, you want to try to have power because you want to be evil, and you don't really have any over the overall scheme of things, right? But evil people, they're rare. Stupidity, though, is common. It's abundant. There is a lot of stupid people. And you don't need malicious intent to break things. And you just need enough, confident incompetence operating at scale, and you will destroy whatever you're, whatever you touch. And in my view, here's what makes stupidity even more dangerous than, say, evil. Is that it believes it's righteous. I want you to hear me out. When somebody is trying to be evil, they know that they're not righteous. They know that what they're doing is horrible. They know that it's bad, but they don't care. Stupidity makes people do atrocious things and actually think that they're righteous for doing them. Stupidity causes that. Not evil, stupidity. And the most destructive decisions in history were not made by people twirling mustaches. They were made by the people convinced they were doing the right thing, without understanding the second and third and fourth consequence that will follow. That's stupidity. I saw an interview the other day where, or it wasn't an interview, it was Hillary Clinton and some right-wing pundit. I don't remember his name, but they were on a panel, and the one of the guy, the pundit guy, he had made a statement where he said, Ukraine isn't fighting for democracy, they're fighting for Ukraine. And the stupidity behind that statement is that, of course, Ukraine is fighting for Ukraine. Of course, they're fighting for their own sovereignty. I mean, hello. But any country in the world fighting for democracy is you want that. And you want to support that because nobody wants to live in a world where one person tells us all how to live. Nobody wants to live in a world where there's a ruler. Nobody. None of us. So, obviously, there are consequences, second and third and fourth and fifth consequences to not supporting a country that is fighting for their democracy. So to just go, well, we shouldn't help them because they're not fighting for the world or democracy, they're just fighting for themselves, is so stupid. It is a stupid thing to say because, again, it does not even look at consequences, not just of things you do, but things you don't do, like supporting countries that are fighting for democracy. Now, you can negotiate with someone who knows they're acting of self-intent. Evil people can be negotiated with. That's true. You can't negotiate with someone who doesn't understand the damage that they're causing. In fact, anyone who's a fan of true crime, if any of you have ever watched any true crime episodes or anything, there are women who have been abducted by men. And they were able to communicate their way out of it somehow. That is because the individual who abducted them is operating out of malice. They were evil, they were strategic, and everything that they were doing was out of malice. And so therefore, they can be negotiated with. The women who get abducted in these true crime stories that are in the most danger is when they're taken by people, individuals, who are stupid. And because stupid breeds recklessness, and they believe from their stupidity that they have a right to her, or to her body, or to whatever, to take her life, that there's a reason and they have a righteousness behind it. And that's not evil, that's someone who's stupid. And a woman will not be able to talk her way out of that abduction because Stupid cannot be reasoned with. It can't even be combated in any way, really. How do you combat stupidity? Educate it? You can't really educate stupidity. They're stupid. Stupid people can't be educated. Some are willfully stupid. They have willful ignorance. They choose not to be educated. And there's that. But there's no combating stupidity. And in the modern world, stupidity scales faster than ever, way faster than evil. I mean, technology rewards speed over accuracy. Social media rewards certainty over nuance. Everybody wants to listen to the person on social media that, that acts like they're so certain about what's going on. Hence the reason why I don't have millions of followers. Too much nuance going on over here. Institutions in America and all over the world, we reward optics over long-term thinking or long-term modeling. And so because of the system being the way that it is, we perpetually reward stupidity, which isn't good, because if you hesitate, like, to stop this dead on its tracks, then stupidity gets further and further out of control. And the more stupid people, or the more stupid people get, the worse things are going to get. They're going to get to the point where they're unfixable. And policies around the world, they get implemented without stress testing. Narratives spread all over the internet and all over the world before facts even settle, before anyone even knows what the facts are. Outrage ends up forming, like, before context even arrives, before any of the information or context is in. The person on social media that acts for a moment like, hey, wait a minute, there might be nuance to this. Well, he loses attention. If you say that you're not sure, well, then you lose influence. If you sit around and say that you're waiting for data, someone else ends up filling the vacuum. Nobody has time to sit around and listen to you wait for data. They'd rather go to the person who's already certain to feed their instant emotions and instant gratification. Justin Michaels, what do you think about them trying to have IDs to vote? Well, I mean, I think it's another form of, trying to, oppress votes. Not because there's an interest in trying to have immigrants vote, which is what the morons think. Because no illegal immigrant would be caught dead going into a voting area. Illegal immigrants don't do stuff like that because they're afraid of getting deported. Common sense. But there are lots of people that struggle to get their ID, that are less likely to have it, lose it. There are people in poor. It's class warfare. It's a class warfare issue, is what it is. Making people use IDs to vote, because poor people are the ones that are more than likely to have to move from one place to another, be in someone else's car, then be in another car. They don't have their own car. They're moving their things from one place to another. Transients, people that are, there's a myriad reasons why people who are in the lower echelon of the class system would struggle having a copy of their ID. I know people that are struggling right now just getting on planes because they don't have a copy of their ID, and there's a whole issue with, like, the real ID and all that other stuff, let alone voting. And that's the reason why it's ridiculous. But back to the point of this episode here. Stupidity is worse than evil, and incompetence compounds. Evil doesn't. Which is why stupidity becomes more dangerous in the long run, because it's just like, as I said, it's just abundant. It spreads through incentives. It spreads through ego. It spreads through a fear of looking uncertain. And stupidity requires nothing. Evil, honestly, requires, to some degree, serious amount of strength or resources, or the ability to take risks. Being stupid doesn't take any of those things. Doesn't take any of those things. Now, to be clear, we all know evil exists. You know, it does. And there are people who intentionally exploit, manipulate, and harm people. But history has always showed us something very consistent. And that is that large-scale collapses of societies, they rarely come from an evil mastermind. They come from a cascading of bad decisions made by an abundance of people who thought they were helping. So instead of sitting around and thinking, man, you know, we should really do something about evil. We got to stop all this evil in the world. No. We need to protect competence, and we need to do something about stupidity. How do we create systems that reward humility instead of arrogance? How about that? That's just one solution. How do we slow down reaction without losing momentum? Or how do we make it acceptable to say, I don't know yet, not all the facts are in? Because in a world that's monetizing and incentivizing certainty and speed of information, stupidity isn't just tolerated, it's incentivized, and it becomes the norm. And that might be the most dangerous thing of all. So, which is harder to defend against? Someone who wants to harm you? Someone who doesn't realize that they already are? Imagine if you were living with somebody and the person that's in your house is evil and they have an intention to hurt you. What that would be like. Maybe they want to put poison in your coffee maker or something. You know, maybe they want to put potassium cyanide in your water bottle, Visine. I watch a lot of true crime. Maybe they're evil and that's what they want to do, right? So they're going to think calculated. They're going to think strategically. They're going to have a long-term plan. Is that more dangerous than, say, a person who loves you and wants to help you, but they're so stupid that they don't realize that every time they hand you the pot of coffee that they're tilting it and pouring it on you, and that every time they, every time they go to, blow dry their hair, they leave it plugged in and throw it in the tub. And just continuously and repeatedly keep doing stupid things, thinking that everything's okay. I'm just living. That would be significantly more dangerous. Significantly. And that's what's happening now. That's what's happening now. Over the last 50 or 60 years, there's been an absolute onslaught of a war waged against universities, against education, We've strayed away from reading books. People's attention spans are so short. Nobody wants to read books or information anymore. Everybody wants the quick understanding. Everybody wants, a quick emotional response. Some guy harms a kid, and before he even gets his day in court, there's already 1 million people on the internet that are saying that this person needs to die. And if you come out and you say anything and even say, all right, guys, wait a minute, due process. Then, oh, what are you? You must be a sicko too. Oh, you're a sicko too, probably. You're crazy too. And this is allowing the people who are in positions of power to destroy everything. Because, and I'll leave you with this, evil people and stupid people. Evil people, there's not a lot of them. And stupid people, there is a lot of them. But evil people get their agendas filled by utilizing stupid people. So the more stupid you are, poorly informed, emotionally reactionary, not willing to look at facts or nuance, the more stupid you are, the more likely you are to commit atrocities for someone who is evil. Because it can become easier to make you think that certain systems and certain groups are your enemy. And you can be made to be turned on the things that you need. The systems and the groups that you need and require for your survival, you will destroy them because you're stupid and because someone evil pointed you in that direction. Justin Michaels, Luke Owen movie. That's funny. Exactly. So anyways, this was another episode of the Executives Playbook. I'm Tom Kane. For those of you who are watching this live on Facebook, please, if you haven't yet, go over to YouTube and look me up, Tommy Kane, the Executives Playbook. Give my channel a subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell if you haven't. Leave a comment. And definitely, please, like the video. Because after I'm done doing live here, there is a edited and condensed version that is released on the channel momentarily afterwards. Anyways, I love you guys, and I will be here every day, and I will see you tomorrow.